Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Wild and Wheels. Today, we're going to be getting started on this piece of fiberglass. As you can see, it is in much rougher condition than the other one was. The other one, we only had really one hole that we had to patch, and then just some cleaning up and just making it look nice. This guy right here, we've got more cracks and pieces. This guy, I don't even know what's holding that guy in. We've got holes and chunks, and we've got metal we got to get out. We got to get this thing fixed up. It's in bad shape. We have to reconstruct this entire corner right here. So how are we going to do that? Well, good thing you asked, because I'm going to show you. Now, I think one of the first things that I'm going to do on this one here is, on the last one, I just sanded the whole thing down, and that's something that we need to do, but I sanded the whole thing, and then I'm going to end up sanding it again before we paint it. So what I decided on this one, let's just see, because I'm lazy, I'll tell you that. I'm the first person to tell you that. Rather than sanding the whole thing and then doing work and then sanding again and then doing work and sanding again, how about this? Let's just sand right around the areas that we're going to be doing work to, and then once we're done with all the patches and repairs, then we can come back and sand the entire thing. Like this area right here doesn't need any work done to it. We just need to sand it before we paint it. Same with like right here and over here. So, you know, we're just going to leave. We're going to leave the sanding to the very end. Once we've made all the repairs and made everything smooth and nice and clean, then we'll go ahead and just do a final sand and get it prepped for paint. So I left this piece on here because the only piece of fiberglass that's holding this entire thing together is this little piece right here. It's pretty, she's on her last leg. So I left this on there to give this thing some strength, to keep it from just breaking in half or falling completely apart. So the first thing that I want to do, the first thing that we're going to need to do when we have a fiberglass project of this magnitude, as you can see, it's touching over there. This over here is probably a good ½ inch off, so we know there's a pretty decent twist in it. This may be attributing to that, I don't know. But the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make it rigid in its final form, where it's going to sit finally. Because if we start doing patches here and here with it sitting like this, then when we start unbolting things and we go to actually fit it back onto the frame, we will have put the twist and made the twist in this, or the irregularities or the unevennesses of it, permanent into this fiberglass. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get it so both sides are sitting flat on the ground. The back corners are sitting flat on the ground. This guy right here, we need to get this, as you can see, when I pull this up, you can see how much it shifts. I'm just lifting that. So that's kind of showing there's a lot of twist in the fiberglass. So we need to get all of this stuff kind of squared away and get it set in the final form that it should be in, which is as square and straight as possible, before we begin any of the repairs. So let's do that first. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab some 2x4s. I got a handful of 2x4s. I'm going to measure the frame. So back here in the fender area, where it actually bolts onto the frame, back here in the back, that sits on the outsides of the frame and gets bolted in. So I'm going to measure the frame, the width of the frame. I'm going to cut a couple 2x4s to that exact width, and then I'm going to stick those back here in the areas where the frame is going to be actually bolted to the fiberglass, and I'm going to attach those two pieces of wood. I'm going to do two 2x4s, one in the front, one in the back. Then at that point in time, we can go ahead and remove this. Then we'll take that off. This will kind of relax a little bit, and then we'll start screwing 2x4s in behind and underneath this to give it some strength and rigidity to hold its form the way it should be. Then we can go ahead and start coming in here, cutting all the little bolts out, getting all this stuff squared away. And the first thing we're going to do is fix all the cracks. Then second, we'll come back, I think I already said that, and reconstruct this corner here. And it's not as hard as you might think. You're thinking, how are you going to lay fiberglass over air. How is that supposed to work? It's not hard. It's not that difficult. Trust me, it'll be easy. It won't be that, you're scared right now, I can tell, and don't be. It's easy. So the frame is 19.5 inches on the dot. So we got our 2x4s cut. So we got bolt holes right across here. These are exactly 19.5 inches. Let's just double check that. That is 19.5 on the spot. Perfect. Okay. So we're gonna come in here. Put that 2x4 right there. And this 2x4 right here, and that's where those bolt holes are at. They are fairly coarse thread, but the biggest thing is I got the biggest head possible that I could for these. So that's gonna really help keep it from blowing through the fiberglass. Okay, perfect. Now, as you can see, that's holding it fairly rigid. And so now what we're going to be doing is we'll be taking this guy off, and we're going to be adding a couple more 2x4s and boards up to the front to really get this thing back together into the shape that it should be. I don't know if I want to use a 2x4. Can I? Oh yeah, look at that. That'll fit inside of it perfectly. We can do. But I don't need it to be this big. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this guy probably in half or maybe a third. And then we'll be able to put that in there. We'll be able to put maybe the rest of this 2x4 over there. Now, I'm using 2x4s. There's no, you can use whatever you want. Some people use sheet metal or little tabs or things like that. You can use whatever you want. I'm using 2x4s because I got a bunch of 2x4s laying around. So this guy over here, man, it's going to need some work. I think we're going to dig into this one a little bit with the sander and see what we got to do to get this guy. And I don't know if we'd be, it looks like there's Bondo in there holding that apart. That's fine. Don't use Bondo to try to fix fiberglass. I know whoever did this repair was probably just trying to smooth it out and make it look good, but I think I've kind of shown that it's pretty easy to actually just fix it. So let's just fix it. Okay, we're done with the. We're just sanding all the. I missed a spot. I missed 2 spots, 3 spots. We'll get those in a minute. But we came through and we sanded all the areas. That's the first step you want to do. You want to get down through the gel coat to the actual fiberglass crack itself before you begin doing anything. So, and you just got to give yourself just a little bit of working room. You don't get crazy with it, but just, give yourself a little bit of room there. So let's go over here and let's put this piece of wood in. This guy, actually probably should do that first. Get that kind of fished in there where he's supposed to be at, roughly, approximation. Okay, so you can see we've got the 2x4s back behind here, and you can see we've got everything is nice and smooth and even and where it should be. That's the whole point of this, is getting those 2x4s behind there. So we've got everything where it should be. Now we can go ahead and begin the repair process. Up until this point, all we've been doing is prepping. Now it's time to repair. So you may be wondering, you may be saying, hey, that's a lot of screws and those are kind of close to the cracks and whatnot. And yeah, they kind of are, but that is perfectly okay. Because we're going to be making this repair in stages. We're not just going to be like, okay, there, it's done. And in all honesty, that's where when you're doing like a hole, it's actually a lot easier. You can throw a piece of tape right behind that, and then you just kind of fill it in, throw a patch over the top of it, and it's easier. Cracks like this do take a little bit more finessing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start cutting out our little strips of fiberglass that we're going to be putting on top of this. And we're going to get these resined in, and we're going to get it so it's put back together strong enough to hold its own weight. And then we're going to come through, we're going to pull all the screws out and get the 2x4s off from behind. Then we're going to come back on top of that. We're going to put some nice bigger pieces to really kind of fill the entire area in that we'll be able to sand down later. Then we're going to finish the repair on the backside. So let's go ahead and start cutting out some fiberglass. Let's get these bad boys ready, and let's get this glassed in. We're going to do the same over here for this guy right here. We got some pieces right here. And now because we do have most of the material here, we don't have to necessarily build up a lot of thickness. One of the other things is everywhere that this is cracked, there's actually a lot of those fiberglass fibers that are really kind of just the original fiberglass fibers that are kind of just sticking out. And so just getting some resin in there is really going to actually help hold these together pretty decently. So let's get some resin in there. We'll throw a couple layers on top of this. We'll let that cure, and then we can go ahead and get the screws out. Then we can flip this over. We can make a nice big patch repair on the back side to really help hold this together. And then we can start putting larger patches on the front side to really get it tied in together nicely. When we sand this all down, it's going to look like it was never even there. Easy as pie. The temperature here is a little bit lower than is ideal for fiberglass to cure at. So even though it should only take about 20 minutes for it to cure, for me, here it takes a lot longer than 20 minutes to cure. So okay, let's get this thing outside and let's get it curing in the sun. That's the best. It's the best thing I can do for it. Okay, so fiberglass has cured here on the front. We got all of our nice patches right here all the way around, and they're looking really, really good. The next step that we're going to go is now that these patches are on here, the fiberglass is like 30% strong. It can still break again easily, and so to finish the repair, we need to put large patches over the top, but we also need to patch it very well on the back side. And in order to do that, we're going to need to get rid of the 2x4s. So we're going to come through here, and there's a couple of these bolts or screws that got a little bit of fiberglass on top of them. I'm going to grind through just enough to be able to get to the screws and extract all the screws, get the 2x4s off. We'll flip it over, and then we'll fiberglass on the back side. I'm going to do some just big sheets. Like I'm probably going to do a sheet from here to here, and we're going to probably do 2, 3, 4 layers. Just lots of layers. We're going to really get after it. These guys right here, we're probably going to do a patch, probably about this big. Same kind of thing for these guys. Nice, big, wide patches. You want to cover over the area by a lot. And for this guy, because we have a big crack here, we have a crack here. This entire section was just flopping around. So I want to make a patch that's just going to cover this entire area. And we might as well just go on down here to the bottom and just tie that all into one. So I think we're going to do one big patch right there. And we're probably going to do 2 or 3, 4 of those. Probably 2. I think 2 would probably be fine. Just nice big patches all the way across that. That should really hold that in. And then that's going to give us a nice starting point when we go to reconstruct this side of the fender. Pro tip number 47, put some of the aluminum tape on the wood before you, because the resin kind of soaked its way through and really kind of stuck it onto the wood. So we're learning things. We're making better, we know better things now. Okay, so we're just cut out the fiberglass, put it in. It's simple. It's fiberglass. You just do the one thing over and over and over again. But just remember, while you're making fiberglass repairs, remember it's all about the layers. It's not just one layer. It's not just one sheet. It's not just one piece. No, multiple layers, multiple sheets. And you just keep building it up until you get the strength that you're looking for. All right, let's get started. All right, that's about all we can do tonight because it's going to take a really long time for this to cure. Get it cured a lot quicker, you know, because it wasn't 20 degrees out here. Then that'd be nice. We'd be able to get a lot more work done in succession. You know, getting this fiberglass all repaired kind of reminds me of one of my favorite Bible verses, 1 Timothy 1:15-17. Here is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the worst. But for that very reason I was shown mercy, so that in me, the worst sinners, Christ Jesus might display his immense patience as an example for those who would believe in him and receive eternal life. Now, to the King, eternal, immortal, invisible, the only God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen. Now I do want to say to you guys, I'm patching a 1970s UTV fiberglass. This isn't a $50,000 yacht. This isn't a $400,000 airplane. It's like a $2,000 UTV. Okay, so is this the way you would patch your $900,000 yacht? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Is this the way you're gonna patch together side by side for the 1970s? Yep, sure is. And it's gonna work just fine. So, could it be prettier? Yeah, absolutely it could be. I'm not a professional. Like I said before, this is literally first time I've ever done this. So. Okay, so to reconstruct a piece of fiberglass that's just completely missing, it'd be great if we had parts and pieces of this so we could kind of resin in and then just fill in holes, but the fact that this entire chunk's missing means we're going to have to create a form that we can then lay the fiberglass onto. And we're going to make it out of cardboard. That's what all the other people on YouTube are doing, so that's what we're going to do. Now, with that being said, before I did, you know, kind of the way I saw on YouTube. You put the patches on the front, put the patches on the back, sand it down smooth, yada, yada, yada. And on these holes, obviously we have a couple little air pockets that didn't get filled. That's okay. We can fix that. That's not unfixable, right? We'll do the same kind of thing. Let's take a bunch of the fiberglass strands, pack them in there, a little bit of resin over that. That'll sand down perfectly smooth. But I was trying something. I was testing something. And you can see this leaves a perfectly smooth surface that we can very easily work with in the future. That's not going to take much. While we're sanding this all down to make it smooth so we can paint it, we'll just sand right over that and that'll be prepped. And as soon as you hit that with some paint, you're not even going to know that was ever there. So, on YouTube, the other people that I've seen, they usually stick the cardboard to the back side, extend the cardboard out from the back side, and then lay the fiberglass on top. And I'm sure that'd work just fine, but then you're gonna have to do a lot of sculpting, let's say, sanding and smoothing and sculpting in order to make the surface of it nice and smooth and try to recreate that, right? I think that's going to be a lot of work. And like I said before, I'm lazy. So not doing lots of work is preferable to me. So what I think I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start on the back side. So we're going to put the fiberglass, or not the fiberglass, the cardboard. We're going to build the cardboard up on the front. And then I'm going to line or put strips of the aluminum tape on the actual cardboard so the fiberglass doesn't stick to the cardboard, and it should leave us a relatively smooth surface when we peel the cardboard off the top side. So we'll build this all up with cardboard and mimic as closely as possible to the original shape, then flip it over and lay fiberglass mat and resin it in. Then once that's all done, then when it's dried and cured, we can peel the cardboard off, and we should have something here that resembles a fender. piece that's missing. And hopefully by doing the aluminum tape facing the fiberglass, then as we resin onto it and whatnot, that it will leave a smoother surface that we then just have to kind of, you know, smooth out with a little bit of sandpaper and make it look pretty close to original as much as possible. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do. That's kind of my goal here. I think that's what we're going to try to do. So let's get started. Also, varying thicknesses of cardboard. Like this is some pretty heavy duty thick cardboard and this is really thin cardboard. I don't know. I'm guessing for like cutting out compound shapes, it'd probably be easier to do that out of thin cardboard. And then, you know, maybe back it with some thicker cardboard to give it a little bit more strength. So when we flip it over and start adding the fiberglass mat, it doesn't distort too much. I don't know. I'm figuring we're both just figuring this out as we go. So let's see how we can make this work. Okay, so in theory, this should, look at that. Ooh, that actually looks like a shape. We almost got this. Been at it for what, 5 minutes? Okay, here's our finished mold that we're going to be using. Now we just have to affix this to the fiberglass, try to keep it from moving too much. Actually, at all. We don't want it to move at all. I mean, the other thing is, you know, if you really think about it, aluminum is waterproof. We could probably just coat this entire thing with the aluminum tape and then it would be just run it like that. Probably. I mean, I don't see why not. Like yay big. It's actually not too bad right there. All right. So we have our 3 generic shapes. We got our little triangles that we're going to use to kind of attach these 2 pieces together. I've got this piece. We're going to lay it in, and that's what's going to tie the top and bottom together here. And then I have this piece over here, which we're going to, you know, build up the rest of it. So at this point, let's just mix up some fiberglass resin and see how it goes. All right, so I actually thought ahead, you know, 5 minutes ahead, and I propped this up in front of the fireplace, and it's not cold. So it might actually catalyze quickly today. I don't know. Let's see how well it pumps. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We might actually only have 20 minutes. Let's get started. Start by wetting down the area. Now we let it cure. I am so excited to see how this is going to turn out. I can't hardly stand it. I just wish it was cured right now. I'm excited. That actually laid down very nicely. We got 6 layers total. We got quite a bit of overlap in this general area and down here. It's just really, I think it's going to turn out wonderfully. I do also believe that once we peel the cardboard and the aluminum off on the other side, we're going to have to do some cleanup. Like a couple of these, there's little air pockets, little air bubbles. But I think that's something that'd be easy enough. We can either do JB Weld, we could use some resin, and just kind of fill in any of those little voids, those little crevices. We can take a bunch of this stuff right here, pack that down in there, fill the voids in, a little bit of resin, and then come back and sand it. And man, it's going to look brand new. I'm so excited about this. I can't hardly stand it. So we will be back tomorrow once this is cured, and we're going to peel this all off and we're going to take a look at it. We're going to check it out, and I think it's probably going to look really, really good. We'll see. Maybe you might have a project car, you might have a boat, something that you're working on, and you're like, hey, how's this process work? Well, there you go. Try it out. We'll see what it was. And if it's terrible, if it's absolutely terrible, then do it the other way. Put your cardboard on this side and build it up on the outside, and then sand it down to make it smooth. Either way, I think this is. I'm excited. I can't wait. I just can't even. All right, we are back, and this fiberglass has cured. So let's peel this off. Let's see how our attempt at reconstructing this corner over here has turned out. I'm very hopeful. Now I will say, look at that. That sucker just peeled right off. Like, amazing. We do have this little bit up here. Okay, we just have a little small piece right there that's stuck. This is actually coming off very nicely. Okay, I absolutely recommend lining your cardboard with the aluminum tape. It's not even sticky. The fiberglass resin did not stick to the aluminum tape at all. And as a result, you can see it's in a pretty shiny shape. Now you can see right here, obviously we didn't get, and I think if we had done the cardboard on the back side, this seam would have kind of covered up a little better. There is the layer right there, but I think that's going to be very easily fixed. I think we can come back in here and put just a couple layers of fiberglass in here to kind of build this corner up a little bit and kind of blend these two in together. But the actual fiberglass itself is in roughly the correct shape. Obviously, we're going to need to do a little sanding, to kind of get the profile a little better. But none of the cardboard stuck, which is impressive to me. Aluminum tape is absolutely the way to go. There's a little bit here. This tiny little piece of cardboard is stuck. We got a couple little pieces of aluminum tape that's actually underneath the resin. The resin kind of came back behind it. That's okay. I think all in all, as a whole, I highly recommend that. This actually is very smooth to the touch. It's not perfect. It's, you know, got some irregularities. I'm sure you can kind of see in the light some of the facets. But we are actually very close to a shape that resembles the other side. A few pieces of fiberglass, a little bit of resin to kind of build this area up a little bit. And the thing is, we do need to come in here and still put in a full sheet of fiberglass over this and this area to really kind of bring those areas up to something that we can then sand down and blend into the surrounding areas. This right here, we can sand, and that cardboard and this aluminum tape is just going to come right out. So that's kind of the nice thing about using cardboard and the aluminum tape is you can sand it. You can remove that very easily later. Okay, so the purpose of this video was to show major fiberglass repairs. Chunks, pieces, lots of cracks, lots of larger holes, and we learned a few things. We learned if you put the tape on the outside where it's smooth and you make the repair on the inside, that it leaves you a nice, perfectly smooth surface that's going to be a lot less sanding in order to finish off the repair. Also, replacing or reconstructing large pieces of fiberglass that are missing. That sucker's in there. We just need to do a little bit of kind of touch up, clean up in this area to really get the two fiberglass pieces to kind of seamlessly flow together. I don't think that's going to be a lot of work. Maybe a couple pieces of fiberglass in here just to kind of fill that area in, and some sanding, and she's done. She's good to go. So that was the purpose of this video. Show major fiberglass repairs and how you can take your piece of fiberglass and you can repair it. You can bring it back around. I will be showing later, once I have this piece and that piece finished, the finished process, the finished product, so you can also check it out and see what your fiberglass project can look like completely finished. I will be putting a link down below, or in the description down below. I'll be putting Amazon affiliate links for all of the products that I used and tools that I used in this fiberglass repair. You don't necessarily have to buy the exact things, but it'll kind of give you at least a nice list of things that you're going to need, and then you can kind of shop around a little bit and find the exact things that you need for your project. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. And next week, we're going to get the axle, the rear axle, repaired, and we'll be getting the frame, all of the frame components that need to be repaired and fixed. We're going to be getting all of that fixed as well. And we're going to be getting the frames put back together, painted, and we're going to start the assembly process. We're ready to start putting this thing back together. And that's always the most exciting part of the project, when you start putting stuff back together. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of all the fun of, you know, not the sanding and boring fiberglass stuff, but the rest of this, getting it put back together. And then once we're done getting it put back together, we're going to be taking this thing out into the wild and we're going to be testing on it. We're going to be checking it out and seeing how awesome are these pugs. Are they even worth it? Should you try to get your hands on one? Well, we got to test it out so you can know if it's a good fit for you, or maybe something that you want to try to look into getting. You could even buy a brand spanking new one. They make brand new ones still to this day. It'd be kind of cool to get my hands on one of those maybe someday. But that's going to do it for today. We'll see you next weekend. Have a wonderful week.